So I haven't talked about Pokemon that much because for me, there's some stuff to talk about Pokemon, but it's sort of wrapped into this general now CCG exuberance bull market thing, and I can't do any box openings because I don't really get any boxes. The allocations for me are nil to a couple things, and so I don't get to do box openings, and I don't, have a lot to talk about with like customers buying. People are constantly calling, asking if there's Pokemon, and I'm sure they're doing this at a lot of stores, and a lot of stores' answer is no, because even if they get more than me or they get a lot more than me, it's still gone on release day, right? Or it lasts maybe a few days, when if there's a lull with a set, but usually not, right? So everything's disappearing. Maybe some stores are, buying the higher distribution prices because once they put it out on release day, then the next wave, if there is one, is now at closer to what MSRP is for the box of whatever type of box it is. And to bring it in, then you have to charge a customer, well above MSRP to make a good enough margin to make it worth it, to make the risk of putting your money into that as opposed to something else worth it. But from time to time, things make sense. And I managed to get one whole ETB of both White Flare and Black Bolt on release day. And I wasn't there. I was working my normal job that day. But Matt was in, and some kids came in, and they had scrounged together their allowance money and managed to get enough to get the ETBs. And I had told Matt prior that you decide, who gets to buy these at a reasonable price, MSRP or under or whatever. And that is sort of the perfect customer for this kind of thing, especially in this market. Like the idea that I remember being that kid, this thing is exclusive or you can't get it anywhere, and you can find it and we can scrounge together our money and we can get it. And a lot of the time it was not possible because adults would have more money and therefore they'd pay more money, and that's why those things weren't available. But from time to time, someone, whether they're 12 years old, 15 years old, 18 years old, or whatever, if they get to the right place at the right time in the right store, then they can get this thing, and it's a memory for them. Remember that time we got Black Bolt and White Flare and we opened the cards and it was great. And obviously keeping the sealed product is something that would probably be the better choice if you're talking about them having this memory 10, 15 years in the future, and they still have these sealed boxes, and they'll be like, holy crap, we've now made 10x or something like that. But the memory is actually the more important part, and the enjoyment of the product, and therefore I just wanted to say that this is the real demand. This is the demand that's driving all of this, is kids getting together their allowance money to get enough to get an ETB or even a booster box if they're in their late teens and they've got a part-time job. And then, there's other people who are collecting in college and they need their box or their ETB, or they're collecting this special treatment type of Pokemon card, and that's the basis of the demand. It's those people, right? And they're not going away for now, right? Some of them are disheartened because they can't get the things that they want, and they don't necessarily know. They just need to wait it out. And then there'll be more sets, different sets, maybe not the sets that they're trying to collect now, but at some point things are going to go back to normal, and prices will be normal, and all this reselling will have dissipated and disappeared, and it's just a patience thing. And from time to time they'll be able to get something that is hard to get, and they can get that excitement, and then they can go back to just whatever they were doing with Pokemon beforehand. And then of course there's other things that they can spend their money on, right? They can spend their money on going to the movies. They can spend their money on, I don't know, doing some off-roading with a motorcycle or something like that, if that's their thing. I live in the woods, right? So there's a lot of that. They can spend their money on books that they want to read, or comic books, or collectible card games, or other collectible things like, toys or something like that. And they don't have to necessarily focus on Pokemon cards. There's other Pokemon products that they could collect. And I don't know how well those are doing because I don't really carry a lot of those things. But patience will pay out, and in 6 months to a year, things will be back to normal, I think. At least more normal than now. And you'll be able to get what you're looking for. And this will be a time that will just be something to talk about in the future. Remember when that was crazy? And that's kind of how Pokemon is. And that's how Pokemon always will be. And that's kind of why people love Pokemon and are in love with Pokemon and are really into Pokemon. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Have a good day.